are you doing? I'm kind of in a place of dread because it is the end of 2024. The last wrap up I'll be doing for 2024. It's somehow 2025 already. I don't know how that happened. I feel like everyone is saying that right now. I apologize for being another one of those people. But December was a crazy busy month for me, way more than I expected at the start of the month. So I did only read 8 books, which to be fair is a lot for some people, but for me it's the least amount of books that I read this year. But I'm still very excited to talk to you about them all. So let's go into stats. Like I said, I read 8 books, which amounts to 2,996 pages, which is an average of 374.5 pages per book and 96.64 pages per day. For format, I read 2 ebooks, 2 galleys from NetGalley, and 4 library books. No books of my physical TBR, which is my big shame for the month. That for rating, I have 1 2-star, 3 3-stars, 3 4-stars, and 1 5-star. I did find another 5-star before the end of the year, and my average rating for December is a 3.5. Then for age range, I read 1 young adult novel, 2 new adult novels, 5 adult books, and for genre, we have 5 fantasies, 2 contemporaries, and 1 non-fiction. So yeah, let's just delve into all 8 of those books, starting off with Kingdom of the Wicked by Kerri Maniscalco, which I gave 5 out of 5 stars to. I've been wanting to read this book for such a long time because it's been a very hyped book for a couple of years now, and I did expect to like it, but I just immediately became so obsessed with this book. I inhale read it, I had such a good time with it, and it might not be like one of the best books I read, but enjoyment wise, it's through the roof. I just really liked our female main character. I feel like she was very headstrong, very independent, and I really like that about her. Like, she didn't take shit. I really enjoyed that. I thought the world was very interesting, very like gothic, like witchy vibes. I really enjoyed that. And I also thought the plot was very captivating. Like, the twists and turns weren't necessarily the most shocking. Like, I did see them coming, but I did have my jaw dropped every single one of them because they were just so well executed. They could really feel like that the character's emotions, like in that moment of like the feelings of shock. And yes, I was absolutely obsessed with this book. Then next, I read I'll Be Gone for Christmas by Georgia K. Boone, which I gave out of 5 stars as soon as I got from NetGalley. Another one of my Christmas reads, and I really like this one. I really thought it was really cute, and I got 2 main characters because this is like a house swap kind of romance situation, and I really like both of our main characters. I thought that, of course, they kind of like come from the same place of wanting to like change things up in their life, feeling a bit stuck in like the place where they are now. But even though they start from that same place, they go very different directions, and their development and their personal journeys are so very different. And I really enjoy kind of seeing that parallel to each other because this book does focus a lot on both of our main characters' personal journeys. So the romances also take a bit of a backseat, which allows them to be a bit more slow burn. And I really like that there were a lot of like cute moments between main character and love interest on both sides of the storyline. I also just liked the side characters again on both sides of the storyline. They were 2 different groups, but they really help bring this book to life. My only kind of problem with this is that the ending felt very, very rushed, like extremely rushed. It's like the author wanted to have like 50 more pages or so to flesh it out a bit more, and the publishing company was like, no, you get 10 pages, and then she like tried to cram it all in there, and I don't know, it felt so off. Then next, I read Kingdom of the Curse by Kerri Maniscalco, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars to. As I said, obsessed. This book I did like a little bit less just because I thought it was very filler, not a whole lot happened in this, but we do go to a different part of this world. Basically, I'm trying to say as spoiler free as possible in this book. I did think that aspect of it was very interesting. It also makes sense why it is a bit more filler because we have to explain this whole side of this world, and I thought that was very interesting. I like the world development that we got. We also got more character development for our male main character, like the love interest, and I really enjoyed that aspect as well. And we also got to learn more of the history of this world that I thought was really interesting. We got to meet some of the other princes of hell as well, of like more of the princes of hell, and delve into them a bit more. And again, I like that aspect to it as well. I still inhale read this very quickly, just ate it all up. With this book, this also very firmly moves into the new adult category. Like, book 1 is YA, bit older YA, but YA. Book 2 and 3, very new adult. So stay clear of that if you're not an adult. And I do think like the change in tone is very noticeable, but I don't mind it that much. I liked it still. And yeah, then I also read Kingdom of the Fear by Kerri Maniscalco, which is another 4 to 5 stars. This one kind of had the opposite problem from book 2, where this one had too much going on, and therefore it kind of felt a bit infodempy at times, because we just all had like a bunch of like these massive revelations that put everything into a new perspective, and I had to delve into that new perspective and explain why we didn't have this before, and it felt like too much. And I definitely feel like at least one reveal of this could have happened in book 2, so that didn't feel as filler as it did, and then this could have just like been spread out a bit more. But I did again still like it. I like the progression that the story went in. I think it was wrapped up in a beautiful way. We got the side characters more fleshed out in this book as well, which I thought was interesting. And honestly, like, I really loved just like the direction this took the story in. Like the things it did was a bit more like risky, I'll say. It's very big things, but it executes it really well. And yeah, I again really liked it. I'm very excited to delve into the spin-off series. Then next I read the Atlas 6 by Olivie Blake, which I give 2 to 5 stars to, and I don't want to review this one because I have such a hard time explaining my thoughts on this book. And I have written I've written a review on Storygraph. I have done a reading vlog in which I read this, so I talked about it there. But I have such complex thoughts in this book, where I've over the time that this has been out, I have seen glowing reviews, and I've seen people say like this is the worst book I've ever read, and I understand both completely, because honestly, this book is a wild ride. It is such a slow burn, and I do feel like that's something that a lot of people might hook off on. The writing is a bit pretentious, and that combined with kind of like the slower, like almost non-existent plot for most of this book, I understand that people are like, nah, I'm done with it. But I think it paid off in the end. I feel like the ending, like the different twists and reveals, and once we actually get into like a proper plot, I feel like all that build up from earlier just kind of makes you go, what? You know, if that makes sense? And I was just so invested by the end of this, and I just really liked our main characters. Like, there were some of them, most of them were pieces of shit, but I couldn't help but still root for them and just want to see what was gonna happen next. At first I thought they were very like one-dimensional, kind of more archetypes, but as you keep reading you kind of realize that there is some depth to them, and I really enjoyed that. I think the magic is very interesting. It's very unexplained, so I would love a bit more explanation on that side, but it is very interesting. Then next I read I'll Get Back to You by Becca Grischow, which gives 2 to 5 stars. So the guy from Nangali. This is a Thanksgiving romance, which I didn't know. I feel like this was very marketed as a Christmas romance. It's Thanksgiving, so you know, for future reference. But I wanted to like this so much, but I just feel like this was missing so much depth for me. I like the overall story, I like the premise, I like the way things happened. It just that I feel like the main character is very underdeveloped, the romance was very underdeveloped. Like literally most of the romance happens in a span of 24 hours, which is insane to me. And it's just so underdeveloped. The conflicts of this book are so underdeveloped. It just happens. And it's just like, okay. And there's also like a friendship that's a big part of this book, and a lot of our main characters' motivations hinge on this friendship. I feel like that was extremely underdeveloped, which kind of made it feel a bit toxic, but I don't think that was the intention. And yeah, I liked it. I read it very quickly, and I do think it had the potential, but it was missing that depth for me to like fully be invested in it and care about it, which I didn't do as much, and I feel like this one and I'm gonna forget about, sadly enough. Then next I read Belgie door de Ogen van Suske and Wiske, edited by Liza Noteris, which I give 2 to 5 stars to. I am not a big Suske and Wiske person. I read a couple when I was a kid, but like I've never been into it that much. But I love examining history or just like society through the lens of pop culture stuff. So this sounded right up my alley, and it ended up being such a disappointment to me. I feel like it was a bit of a mess. Kind of the idea of this book is just different essays from different people talking about a certain thing in Belgian history and then relating it, of course, to the comics. And I feel like it lost the plot. I feel like so many of these essays are more so about the author's personal like relationship with the comics, which, you know, is valuable, but it's not what I read this book for. And then other ones just made a point that was so thin and so far-fetched that was like, you're projecting. Like, chill. Like, I don't know if you're actually making a point you think you are. Like, it's barely hanging by a thread, you know? And then I also feel like it was just not compiled very well, because there was just a lot of repetitiveness in this, where a lot of the authors kind of like talked about the same thing, or just like took different approaches to the same thing, and it got a bit boring to read. And then also not in any person's like big point of the essay, but there are definitely like certain sentences from different essays that just completely contradict each other. and I don't know how the author let that happen. And then lastly, for December and 2024, I read A Conjuring of Light by Schwab, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars. It is also the only book I have physically. I apologize, but the other books from the library had to be returned. And like I said, I didn't read any books of my physical TBR. So now we have this one. This is the final book in the Shades of Magic series. It just overall just been a disappointment to me, and this book is not an exception, sadly enough. And what makes it sadder is that I thought for just like the first chunk of this book that it was gonna be, because it immediately just like kicked into action. It was very interesting. Book 2 ends on a bit of a cliffhanger. This immediately delves into that situation, and I was on the edge of my seat, heart racing, so excited to see where this book is gonna go. And then they just kind of do random shit until the very end, and the sense of urgency with like this big threat was just like completely gone. And it meandered so much, and it was such kind of a drag to get through at times. As much as I read this like extremely quickly, I did at times feel like, oh come on, let's get to the point. And I generally got pissed off towards the end of this book. Like when I was reading like the last 100 pages from this book, I was sitting next to my mom and I was like, I can't believe that we still have not gotten to the point of this book. Like they're doing something else again, and I got so frustrated. And then ultimately the resolution was done over so quickly, and I feel like it undermined the threat that we built in the beginning of this book. So in that sense, this was a disappointment. However, this was still a 3-star, meaning I did still enjoy it. Like I said, I read this extremely quickly. I do still like this world. I still like these characters. So I did still have a fine enough time reading this book. It just that the plot got on my nerves. And those are my thoughts on every book I read in December. This is actually a really quick wrap up. I need to read less books. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you thought of these books, if you've read them, or some of the books you read in the month of December. And hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.
Here I am again, the same old situation. Why does the God thing have to be so complicated? I should have played it cool.